so I stopped it. But actually I checked back and the sound seemed to be all right. So a continuation on the streams that I'm doing, and the larger vision that I've got is to get on more podcast shows to share my story, to help more people who have an anxiety disorder, whether it's social anxiety, anxiety in general, to be really brave and face their anxiety and live their dreams. So I thought I'd start this stream. This will probably be a lot shorter because I've got to get a flight back today to London in Latvia. I thought I'd start off by talking about, the hardest part of facing anxiety and your anxieties. And this has been from many people that I've coached over the years. I've been coaching for 12 years and facing my own anxieties, and that's been a long journey. So I think one of the hardest things about facing the anxiety to start with is the mental and psychological fear and stress that the mental side puts on people, and obviously people make it worse by panicking more and getting more stressed out because of intrusive thoughts and anxiety. So depending on how much experience you've got, how confident you are, how much control you've got over your mental health and your mind, that can be easy for some people. Again, it depends on how their life is going, but for the most part, it's very challenging, just by definition. So the mental side is challenging because psychologically there's a lot of fears and phobias that are, that are psychological. A lot of them never really happen in reality. I mean, some obviously can happen and have happened to people, which is why they fear it happening again. So that's one of the explanations. The second explanation, which I often think is probably even harder, is the emotions. Because facing anxiety, there's a lot of emotions that are in your anxiety or the anxieties that you have. And that's really challenging for people, especially, after going through like a breakup in a relationship, or a mental health breakdown, or a disappointment, or losing a job, or even losing a loved one, someone dying that's close to you, all these different things, or, being down for a long time, being stuck in life. Some people have been stuck for 10, 20 years, even longer. So these are two challenges of facing anxiety. It's psychological, it's the thoughts, the fears, the intrusive thoughts, the overthinking, the worrying in your mind. And then there's also the uncomfortableness and the pain at periods. It's it depends, it's not always painful, but it can be very painful and unpleasant periodically facing your emotions. So it's all these things that play a part, because you've psychologically got to confront your fears, most of which are imaginary, but obviously people believe that they're real, or they worry that they're going to become real. And then you've got to face simultaneously your emotions. And as I said, it depends on what the situation is, where you are in your life. If things are going well for you and you've been facing your anxieties for a long time and you've got a lot of experience, then it's very easy, because you've got momentum and you've got used to it, and you've built up to a certain level of tolerance psychologically and emotionally. So that can actually be really exciting, and I've been there, and obviously I've helped many clients to get to that point. But you're not always going to be at that point, and a lot of people are stuck at the point where they don't have momentum because they've been too frightened, they've been avoidant, they've been avoiding their anxieties, or they're stuck in certain patterns that they might be aware of, but they still can't break out of them. Or some patterns people are in, they're not aware that they're in these negative patterns that they've formed through negative thinking and a lot of avoidant behaviors. So, the challenge presents itself in quite a lot of different ways. And as I've said today, I'm just learning as I'm going along, explaining this through my experiences and teaching for 12 years. It's mental, psychological and emotional. So it's good to understand, why you're anxious and what the challenges are, because then you can begin to overcome them. The more you understand a fear or a phobia, the more chance you've got of actually overcoming it and being betterly prepared and mentally prepared, which is what I'm hoping to do on this live stream throughout all my videos. And like I said, I reflect and learn on how I've dealt with it, how I've overcome it, how it's challenged me, and I've helped other people. So make a note of that. Any of you listening to this stream, write down and make a note of what I've discussed. It will give you a better understanding, and it should ease some of the anxieties. I mean, it might heighten them a little bit to begin with, because a lot of the times, again, people don't always want to talk about their anxieties because it makes them more anxious, right? So there is a balance between all this, but I'm a big believer in talking about it for the most part. If you speak to someone that you can trust, that will listen, or you can write it or talk it out yourself, it relieves a lot of the anxiety. It calms it down. Let's say your anxiety is 100%, just to use a number. Talking about it might take it down to 70%, 65. So at 65 or 70%, now you're in a better position to face it and wipe it out, take it down to 0 or less than those numbers. But yeah, externally, relationships, finances, mental health, well-being, life, your sense of identity, value, all these things take their toll on your relationship to fear and anxiety. Another one is the people that are around you. If you don't have friends, a lot of friends, or you've got friends but they're not supportive, that makes it harder to face anxiety. I remember when I was at the start of my journey in my 20s, I had some good friends, but I didn't have enough support, or maybe I didn't communicate enough at that time, but I didn't have enough supportive relationships. I didn't have a mentor, someone that I could really get all of my fears out and talk to, share my heart out, to relieve me of the stress and the pain, and then help me to figure out, or give me a little bit of support and encouragement so I could find a practical strategy to actually face these anxieties. Because really that's what I do for people. That's the challenge. It's finding a way to talk yourself or motivate or educate or inspire. I'm doing it right now as we speak. Finding a way of talking yourself into facing these anxieties that are holding you back in life. Because what anxiety will do, just on its own without you doing anything, it will talk you out of facing it to keep you safe. That's part of a defense mechanism. It's how our brains work, or a large part of it. Our brains are designed to keep us alive, which is good in many ways, but it's very bad in the modern world in many ways, because our brains, on one level, they're keeping us alive, but on another level, they're making people sick and depressed if they don't understand how to get more control over their mind and brain and make it work for them rather than against them or against you. So understanding these things does help. But like I've said before, it's not enough just to have an intellectual understanding of the mind and your anxieties and your defense mechanisms and your emotional challenges, your psychological challenges, because knowing all these things is not enough until you actually confront these things. Confronting these things and doing what therapists and psychologists deem as exposure therapy, that's one of the most powerful, effective methods for improving and conquering and overcoming any anxiety. I can give you an example. So let's say a person has got a very bad anxiety of doing a live stream, what I'm doing now. They feel very self-conscious. They're just nervous. It brings up a lot of nervousness and they can't speak or they start panicking. The best way for them to overcome that would be to do it and to keep doing it until they got confident, competent, more comfortable and more relaxed in that situation, through exposure, through doing it, through building that habit, that repetition, and getting that relief that, oh, it's safe, nothing bad's going to happen. Or if it, let's say people's worst fear is getting criticized online. Well, once that happens and that they handle that and it doesn't kill them, they're no longer as afraid of it because they're familiar, they've experienced it, and through the process of actually speaking more, you get less anxious and more confident. So that's an example of how to face anxiety. On a deeper level, which I said on the last live stream that I'd done, you've got to have a purpose as to why you're going to face your anxieties and why you want to face them. Because if the purpose alone is just because you want to overcome anxiety, even though there's nothing wrong with that, in my experience, which is 12 years experience of coaching people on how to get past anxiety and build confidence and discipline and achieve goals and be successful and form relationships and be more honest and so forth, and get in shape, go to the gym, earn more money. Lost my train of thought now. I was in a real good flow there. Where was I? Hold on a second. Oh yeah, I know where I am now. So in my experience, when people don't have a strong purpose or a reason that is bigger than just them getting over their anxieties, they tend to not stick with it because they just lose motivation. They lose purpose. So you have to figure out what your purpose is, and that might be very different to mine or other people's. My purpose was I wanted to overcome my anxieties because I wanted to be, I wanted to have a career as a teacher and help people and coach them. That was my passion. And it was kind of combined with a few other personal goals, but that was my main purpose, to share my story, to be a teacher, to go on to do talks and travel and really change people's lives. So that gave me extra strength to get through many difficult times in my life and anxieties that were emotionally really challenging for me and psychologically taxing. So having a purpose as to what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it, because again, the question is, could ask someone, why do they want to help people? What's the reason? And my reasons were because it feels like the right thing to do and it makes me feel great and I like doing it, and it's something that I feel really passionate about in my heart. And having suffered myself, I know what it feels like to suffer, and it's not nice, and I don't like other people suffering, so I want to help them to overcome that suffering. And it's also something that I'm good at doing, and I don't fully always know how I'm good at it, but I know that I'm good at it and I enjoy doing it, and when I do it, it feels natural and honest and great. So I've given you a real understanding and explanation. It's also for me, listening to Les Brown helped me to realize what my purpose was, because his purpose was really the same as mine. And when he said that, many people have got a goal to change people's lives, but they don't realize it and they don't believe in themselves yet until they discover the truth of who they are and what their goal is. So you've got to figure out what your reason is. And it's different for everyone. Some people's reason could be because they want to go to university and they want to major in a certain degree that they're passionate about, psychology or being a doctor, whatever the case may be. But anxiety is holding them back because they feel anxious in university or around people. So the purpose is to get the degree, to go on and become a doctor or become a psychologist or a historian, that is the purpose. That is going to get them through these challenging emotions of anxiety, etc. That's going to keep them going and give them a deeper reason, as opposed to just having the reason that you want to overcome it. But I'm not saying that couldn't work, but I'm saying in my experience it's less likely, from having coached hundreds and hundreds of clients over 12 years and reflected on my own life, my own challenge of anxiety and how I excelled and overcame it and continue to overcome my anxieties and help other people. So a purpose gives you that extra strength. I could even go a bit deeper, probably will in another video. For me, everyone's different, but having faith, believing in God, that really gives you a lot of strength. But it's all kind of in the area of faith, purpose, gratitude, wanting to do something bigger other than yourself, coming outside of, which takes a lot of courage, I think, for everyone, and a real passion and a heart to really genuinely help people, coming out of your own selfishness. Of course, we all have needs. which need to be met, which is fine. But there's levels of being too selfish and also being kind and, you know, focusing on serving other people. So all these things give strength. Then there's also, you know, enjoying life, you know, having, because it's not all doom and gloom. It's also things that make you happy. For example, for me, going to the gym, working out, exercising, dieting, making progress, spending time with family, friends, you know, watching movies that you enjoy or participating in activities that you really enjoy doing. That's really important as well. Having that joy and that passion in your life, that will support your journey with facing your anxieties and transforming your life. So you can combine all these things, and that's what I did when I started out, and that's what I still do, and I teach. So you can design it according to what works for you, because obviously, I mean, I really do kind of believe that the same principles work for everyone, but obviously everyone's going to be living different life, different careers, different personalities. So you've got to adjust it to your values, your personality, your lifestyle, and what is important to you. So these are all the things that make it easier to face your anxieties. And of course, this experience, this practice, it's like anything. You know, the more you practice facing anxieties, the better you get, the stronger you get, the more experienced you get. But that obviously takes discipline, it takes work, you've got to build a habit. But if you've spent many years avoiding your anxieties and running away from them or hiding from them, or what a lot of people do, you know, medicating with drugs and alcohol, or excessive unhealthy eating, or unhealthy relationships, or defense mechanisms, or too much movies, or too much comfort, or video games, or staying in your comfort zone, then it's going to be harder. But nonetheless, you can overcome it. Whatever stage you're at, if you have a purpose and a reason or a goal is important. I do goal setting in my coaching. Goals are very important. Goals kind of align to your purpose, but some people that might not be the right word for them again. So having a purpose, having a goal, having a vision, having a long-term goal and vision, and then having daily goals will give you the extra strength, motivation, discipline, and courage to go and confront your anxieties. So today we're talking about the biggest challenges we're facing anxiety. I've broken that down. You can watch the stream back if you missed the start of today. And then I've moved forward to ways in which you can overcome these challenges by having a purpose, having a goal, having positive relationships, being positive, going to the gym, you know, supporting your lifestyle with things that you enjoy. So it's a combination of, you know, creating this in your life and being patient. But of course, excuse me, I've said before, you know, it's not going to go well all the time. As a matter of fact, it's definitely not going to go well, and it's what you do after. And that's the challenging part for people. I've seen it before and I've experienced it too. And it's the human struggle where, you know, people are fine when things are going well and they've got their relationships or financially. But when things don't go well, when you're financially struggling, or when you don't have the right relationship, or if you have a breakup in the relationship and you get hurt, that's when it's really, really, really challenging to motivate yourself to get back on your feet when you've been knocked down by life or hardship. And good to see you as well, James. And motivate yourself to go back out. And that's where that's where refocusing your values and your purpose. And I've done this a lot in coaching sessions for clients, and they've absolutely loved it. It's really helped them. And I've done it for myself where things have been going well. They're on top of their anxieties. They've got a relationship, or the money's going well, or the confidence is going well. But then something breaks down inevitably. You know, money goes down, or somebody leaves them in a relationship, or they've got to end a relationship and they're hurt. It happens to all of us. And then they sort of get down again because they've been knocked down. And I know this is a subject off topic, but when you look at Tyson Fury, when he got knocked down by Deontay Wilder, most heavyweights would have been knocked out. Like, the odds were so against well, usually a person wouldn't get back up. But Tyson Fury is a special type of individual. And I honestly believe, well, a lot of it is his character, but I believe it's because Tyson Fury has an anxiety disorder, has had a mental health problem, and he overcame the breakdown when he was suicidal. I've been reading his book at the moment, and Tyson shared his story a lot, which is inspiring. I can relate to a lot of his struggles and challenges, even though, you know, we live different lives. He's a boxer and I'm a confidence coach. So Tyson Fury's got the ability to get back up when all hell breaks loose. And, you know, I mean this respectfully. Don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm only being honest. It hasn't always been easy for me, but so have I. I got back up when I had a mental health breakdown, and it was so challenging for me. It took me many years to come back, and that's kind of what I'm sharing on the second part of my journey. But it wasn't easy, but I could do it, and anyone else can if they really want to. So facing anxieties is challenging, but it's quite easy. It's quite possible when things are going well and you've got the right support. But it's not as easy when things are not going well, or when things have been going well in your life and then there's a breakup in a relationship, or you lose money financially, or, you know, your business stops doing well, or, you know, you get an injury, or you put on weight, or maybe you go back into an addiction that you've been abstaining from a long time. So when those challenges happen and you get knocked down, getting back up is very, very challenging, and more so for people that are already prone to anxiety and they're very sensitive emotionally and they've got a lot of trauma that they're dealing with. But listen, I can share my story of you, the second part, and say, I believe you can do it because I've done it, and if I can do it, I'm no different to anybody. Everything was going well for me, and I overcame all my anxieties that I had in my 20s, and by 28, 30, I was very successful. Financially, mentally, emotionally, things were going really well. But then a few years later, things went very bad, and I had a mental health breakdown, and it was very, very hard for me to get motivated to go back out and build back. But I'd done it by the things I've said earlier on today, by having a purpose, setting goals, getting help, support, and gradually building myself back up. So I hope to continue to share my story. I am sharing it and inspiring people, whatever stage they're at of their anxiety, whether it's right at the start, where I was in my 20s, where they haven't got much experience in going out and traveling and getting a job and looking for a relationship or speaking in front of people, or facing all these fears of cleaning up, being disciplined, addictions, thought patterns, all those anxieties. I can help people there. Or if people are at a later stage where they had a great life, but then, you know, tragedy happened. It happens. It's tough, but it's life. Someone dies in your family, or you have a breakdown, or somebody leaves you, you have a breakup after 10 years, marriage, or a girlfriend, or you leave them and that hurts, whatever the case may be, or you have a mental health breakdown. I've come back from, so far, all of these things, so I can give strength by telling my story. So it can be done if the person is willing and committed, but it does take time. It does take time. Nothing happens overnight. All anxieties, actually. There's not many. I mean, there might be like minor little or in a day, but most anxieties take time, especially things like social anxiety, and especially things like trauma and, you know, sort of abandonment anxiety, or the fear of being hurt, or opening up, or forming relationships, or these things take time. It takes work. But if you're willing to put the work in, then you're going to get life-changing results. And I always say to people, what other choice do you have? Well, you've got a choice. You stay the way that you are. You stay kind of broken and anxious and living a life that's miserable, or you decide to start making a comeback and exposing yourself. And that's why I've said it's so important to have a teacher or a therapist or a confidence coach like me, because without someone helping you, it isn't impossible, because I don't believe anything is, but it's really, really hard. So I'd almost say it's almost impossible to do this, to face your anxiety with all of the complexities and the challenges that come with it, and to change your life and, completely turn your life around. It's almost impossible without any support. I couldn't have done it. There's a lot that I've done on my own, but I got a lot of help too. So I couldn't have done it on my own if I didn't pray to God, my faith, if I didn't find Les Brown, if I didn't go boxing. So I had a lot of tutelage in my journey. I had a lot of help from coaches, teachers, communities, my dad. But then there were times where I walked alone. I found strength for myself and did a lot on my own. But yeah, nonetheless, I don't think someone can do it on their own. It doesn't matter how, big and strong they are, because it's extremely challenging emotionally. It's not just a physical strength, because there's many, you've got many guys and women that are physically very strong. There's lots of people that are strong. They can lift big weights, they can fight, but emotionally, they're not as strong, because it's a different type of strength. Lifting up heavy weights is different to being strong emotionally and mentally and working through pain and discomfort in relationships and moving forward, and anxieties and agoraphobia, social anxiety, all these things. It's different. It is different in many ways. It's a different type of strength and skills that you've got to develop. So you need support. You need a community, or whether you've got one therapist that's really good, that's enough. So we're having one great support is better than having nothing. Or obviously, if you've got more than one, that's even better. The more, it's not always more is better, actually, because you could have 5 teachers helping you, and they're all really good, but it could be too many, whereas you just could have one and that works, or 2. But it's better to have support as opposed to not having support. So I'd really encourage anyone out there who's really struggling with any sort of anxiety disorder to get help and not be on your own, because whilst you're trying to figure out on your own, it's scary, it's lonely, it's tough. I've been there, I've experienced it when you're on your own and you're sitting down, and the anxiety, the emotions, the fears, the thoughts, it's very lonely. But when you have someone helping you, it's like you get that connection, you're not as lonely, or you can take the loneliness away, and then you get into a position where I hope to help as many people as I can, where you don't need people to always support you. You can support yourself, because you've got yourself into such a place where you're mentally strong and emotionally good in yourself, and you've got gratitude and discipline, etc. So that's it. I'll leave it for that today, because I've got to fly soon. I've done quite a few good streams recently. I know a lot of people get loads of value from this, and these streams help me because they also help me to process all of the experience that I've had and accumulated through working with people and facing my own anxieties, and continuing to help people and continuing to face my ongoing. And that's something that I want to explain at a later date, that I think people don't realize. When you overcome your anxiety, you still deal with anxiety. You're not going to stop being human, but you have, you're better equipped, and some anxieties don't bother me anymore because of facing them so much, but there's still anxieties that I deal with every day. That's part of being human. So I'll talk about that more, because I think a lot of people can be naive. They think just because someone's overcome anxiety and they're successful and they're confident, that they no longer experience it, and they do. All successful people, all people that are human do, but probably we're stronger at dealing with it than someone who hasn't got to that point yet. They haven't made that sort of progress, or they haven't built that confidence, etc. But yeah, a lot of this it's both. It's external and internal. It's about, strengthening your mind, body, and your spirit through going out and externally facing these things that are giving you anxiety. For example, public speaking, traveling, talking to people, relationship building. I'm a big believer in sales, because at some point we've all got to learn sales, or we're going to work for a company or a job, and we're being sold, and we buy every day. So, selling is important, and people have anxiety about that, of course, until they overcome it. Especially people that have got major anxiety disorders, selling can be a no-go for them. So there's that as well. So yeah, I would ask you to answer these questions. Think about what your purpose is. What is important to you? What is your reason? What do you want to achieve in your life? And that will give you more strength and motivation and direction. Start doing journaling. That helps a lot as well. Write down what's bothering you, why it's bothering you, what you want to achieve, where you want to get to, how you want your life to look. What is progress? Because it's going to be slightly different for everyone. I work with one client, and progress to him could be making more money in his business. That's what he determines progress. Another client, it could be about him noticing that he's more comfortable around family and friends. He's less anxious, and that for him, that's big progress. So progress can mean different things to different people depending on what they value and what their goals are. So there's that. Progress can also be the way that you conduct yourself, how you treat people. I've got clients that start noticing that they're less judgmental and they're being more kinder to people where they wasn't before. So they've noticed the progress, and all these things play a huge part in improving your anxieties and improving your confidence, your self-esteem, your mindset, your ability to handle anxiety, to be more disciplined and so forth. So that'll be it today. I've got my flight soon, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm posting a lot of stuff up on social media, a lot of material on how to overcome your anxiety and live a better life. All right, appreciate all you guys, and I'll speak to you soon when I get back to London. Have a good evening. All right, bye.